About 2 years ago, Elizabeth and I spoke about the possibility of doing some videos, and it wasn't until October of last year that I actually got round to getting across there and doing them. We spoke about the possibilities of doing one long documentary and then a series of short documentaries which could go on to Facebook, where people have a shorter attention span. In order to get sorted out, I'd like to pay particular thanks to Gentiana, who's the volunteer and communications coordinator, who helped me out getting the schedule together, and the work she put in on my behalf, getting everybody organised and fitting it all into the days that I had, was really useful and much appreciated. I had a week to do the shoot, and I came up with 5 working titles. The first one was Back to School. The intention with these was to try and involve individuals so that we could actually get their story as much as about the organisation. We could actually see it from a person's point of view, so hopefully you'll see that coming back in the videos. On the Back to School, I had the assistance of a lovely young chap called Nasser, and also Resmiye, who was and also a 12-year-old who just started learning again, having been kept away from education up to that point. The next subject I moved on to was the kindergarten, and Nadina was one of the people put forward for me to get her point of view of how the kindergarten works. Then we moved on to bursaries, and Azia helped out with that, and then health, which I'd originally had down as women's health, but in fact it encompasses much more than just that, so I've defined it as just health now, and Baramsha and the doctor helped with pulling that one together. And finally Sapoon, which was Sadeti, who's one of the workers who makes the lavender bags, helped out with that one. I had some skeleton scripts put together, but unfortunately things don't always work out how you plan, and the first immediate problem was the fact there was a measles epidemic when I went over there, which meant that the kindergarten had to be shut. But fortunately they were able to organise a kindergarten in Yanyeva, which I was able to get a lot of activity with kids, and also the sort of the plus point of that was that the empty kindergarten in Pushkasova meant that we got an angle on the health story, which looked at the concept of early vaccination for children and so on, which obviously if they're missed, then things like measles go untreated. I tried to shoot some stuff at the Saturday Activities Club and got quite a lot of bits before an American group turned up called World at Play, who basically turned the entire Saturday session into a game session, which was great for the kids, but not quite what I was hoping to be able to video. But that in itself had an advantage, because it meant that I had the time, and also I had the availability of 2 of the young teachers who were able to help me with getting some more authentic Kosovo music together, which I've used on the opening titles and the end credits. You know, once I got home, there was many hours and days, which hopefully Dorian will forgive me for, spent poring over the computer, tying it all in together, doing the audio tracks, video tracks and so on, and hundreds and hundreds of shots that I'd made while I was there. One of the things I was really pleased to do was to be able to get the help of a BBC journalist to do the voiceovers, a guy called Robert Hall, who's somebody I've worked with in the past. And he not only helped by reading the scripts for me, but he also corrected my poor grammar and made it a little bit more readable from his point of view, so he really helped with that. It was a bit like getting my homework back when I got the email back with all the corrections on. Other friends and relations helped by doing voiceovers for the Albanian sections, and the whole lot was put together into a DVD. This is the opening screen of the DVD, and as you see on there, you have the option to either play the full video or to play the individual sections. Designs a cover graphic and a disc graphic, and I'm hoping after you've seen the videos that you'll think you'd like to purchase them for yourselves. They're available at lunchtime over there, and suggested donation of £10 each for those if you would like a copy. And whilst I'd like you to have them as a way of seeing and remembering the work that Tip does, what I'd really like is for you to think about taking your video and going to a Women's Institute roundtable, church group, old people's home, something like that, where you can make that presentation to them, and hopefully they will either make an offer of a donation or they'll have a whip round, or maybe both if you're lucky, and the end result is that the £10 investment in the disc will turn into maybe £40 or £50. I don't know what the going rate is for a talk, but something of that sort of order. Obviously, if you're like me, I don't like standing up and talking, and sometimes if you can break the ice with a video like that, it gives people a good idea of what the subject is. It gives them ideas for questions to ask, and hopefully the question and answer session is a lot easier than standing up and doing a talk. But in the meantime, I'll let you watch the first of the videos.
A few years after the Balkan War ended, the aid agencies and the media moved on. Kosovo received foreign aid to rebuild its infrastructure and now appears to be a reasonably prosperous country. But not far from the shiny new businesses and smart coffee bars, marginalised societies still struggle to make a living. Children who should be in school are sent out by their parents to beg or to make a few euros sifting through rubbish tips. Nasser has just started his education at the age of 12. He, like many others of the Roma, Ashkali and Egyptian community in Pristina, helped his family supplement their meagre income by litter picking. Because of that, he didn't go to school when he reached the normal entry age. Due to a peculiarity of the Kosovan system, once Nasser had reached the age of 9, he was no longer eligible for education at all. Seeing the plight of children like Nasser, Elizabeth Gowing founded the Ideas Partnership. She set up a centre where children who dropped out of or never entered the system could be trained up to a level where they could re-enter and complete their education.
We reckon that we've returned to school about 150 children over the 6 years of our project, and in addition to that we've registered in first grade about 30 children every year, and that's just in Fushkosov. We're also working in Janjevo and in Obilic, where we've got other children into school, sometimes registering them in first grade, sometimes through registering them for intensive classes so that they can return to school. So the statistics are always quite complicated to read, but yeah, we're getting kids back to school every term, and that's what keeps us going.
We spoke to Nasser about what he was doing before joining the Ideas Partnership scheme and his hopes for the future.
I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to Pristina with my father to take things from the rubbish tips. We collect them together and sell them. In this way we make the money. I have to work because my mother is sick. We collect plastic bottles and metal sheets. If we collect enough bottles we can earn 10 euros. When I'm older I want to be a policeman.
Resmie is also 12 years old, and she dropped out of school when her mother died. She was made to stay at home and look after the house. Now she's being prepared to return to school, and her ambition is to become a hairdresser. So given the role the children had in supporting their families, was it a struggle to get the kids to come to classes?
We didn't have any struggle persuading the children to come to the classes. The struggles that we've had have all been with other actors in the system. So it's been a struggle sometimes with the school, it's been a struggle sometimes to get the funding, but the children themselves are actually what has driven it. That's one of the joys of the Back to School initiative, is that we've got kids banging on our doors, sometimes literally saying, when can I go to school, when is it going to start? So that's what it motivates us to make the other people get behind this idea that the children need to be in class.
The Ideas Partnership goes beyond just getting children into the state school. Vital follow-up work ensures that all goes smoothly. Hisni Hassani is responsible for liaising with the schools.
My name is Hassani.
I go by their homes to tell them and their parents it is the start of school and that they need to register. I go with them to register with the school. When the young first grade kids go to school, they don't know where their class is, so I go to the headmaster to find out. We take a list of the children and which class they are in and go to those classes and talk to the teachers. In the winter, the Ideas Partnership provide a bus that is some distance to the school. We provide bags and pens and books for them. Sometimes the children stop going to school, but the school does not inform us. We visit the homes and we ask why the children are not going to school, and we try to look for a solution. However, if the children miss 1 or 2 months and there is nothing we can do, as we can only send them once a year to join the classes.
As well as the formal lessons during the week, on Saturdays the Ideas Partnership Centre hosts extra tuition in 2 sessions for over 100 kids. Later in the day there are other activities, including the Girls' Club and the Little Teachers. Girls aged 9 to 14 attend the Girls' Club, which aims to promote education amongst young girls. They tackle the problems of early marriage, domestic violence and other issues. By inviting inspirational guest speakers, they encourage the girls' ambitions and aspirations. The volunteers realised there was a lack of teachers coming from the local communities, so they came up with the idea of organising a group of older youngsters who were eager to learn and had ambitions of becoming teachers in the future. So are the goals of the project nearing completion? Has the project found all the kids in this community who've missed out on their education?
So it is an ongoing project, but we can also see that we've kind of reached all of the ones that were the really easy ones to reach, and we're now getting to families where often there are multiple reasons why the children aren't in school. So maybe the children have got some kind of developmental delay, like a hearing impairment, or some reason that the families are unsure whether they can succeed in school. Maybe the families themselves have got issues, perhaps the parents left or is in prison, or there's alcoholism or mental health issues. And so those are the families where it's harder to access the children because they're dealing with multiple claims on their time and multiple challenges. But of course they're the ones that are most in need. So that's why it's great that we've got Arbon, who's our social mediator, plus all of our community mediators who know the families and have access to those people most in need.